we fill this out every week. So each site fills a site diary format every week, and I want the ability then. What I'm looking for is two levels of dashboard, James. So if I can have a dashboard per site, which looks at this site specifically in those the site diary in those specific projects, what I'd also like to do is have a higher level dashboard, which brings all of the sites into one dashboard. And then so what I'd like to do is to be able to look at the AFR from a company-wide perspective, but then also go into individual sites. And because what I want to try and do is create a little bit of competition between the sites. So I want them to be the best site. I want everybody to feel they've got the best site and have a bit of competition behind it. But then from a more serious point of view, when I go to the health and safety committee meeting, I just want to look at the company dashboard and take all my stats straight off it.
Yeah, I mean, what we can sort of normally do is basically allow you filters. So you don't have to prepare now for what you might want to see. So at the moment, say that this is your company level one, you'll have some filters on the left-hand side. You'd be able to filter to a particular project, or maybe multi-select just a few projects, because they're the 3 that are live at the moment.
Yeah.
So you can drill it down, and if you've got divisions or regions, you could just filter on those or whatever. So yeah, we kind of don't need to design for exactly what you might be reporting on every week, because it might change.
I wouldn't have to have 2 dashboards then, James, right? No, I can just filter the one. But I guess the downside of that is, if the dashboard is available to sites, well, then again, it's not a downside. So if I work on a particular site, say Victoria Works, I could go into the dashboard and filter to see what other sites have. So I could take Victoria Works out, put Northcote in, and see what Northcote stats it are.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that my teams have got that level of expertise, but it would introduce that bit of competition, like so they can see what other people are doing. Oh my God, and nobody wants to be bottom of the pile.
No, well, that's if you want that. So at company level, you definitely have the controls to see it full company, filter to a project, filter to a region, do whatever. If you wanted this same dashboard at project level, you could, of course, have it so they can go between projects, but a lot of the time you would actually have it pre-filtered to specifically that project, so they could only see their own information.
Okay.
At a project level. So it'd still be the same dashboard. We can just apply it. It's just a minimum admin cost per project, and it'll be pre-filtered to that project. But all the data is coming up to the company level, so in our eyes, it's still the same dashboard. Okay, so yeah, we can look at that. Personal hours. So let's move to
the right-hand one with general forms, James. Those are general kind of health and safety forms that exist in Snagar at the moment. What I was trying to get to there is I'd like to pick in with a date picker. So if I go for the month of 1st of March to 31st of March, I'd like to know how many of those forms have been filled out during that selected date period. And I thought that would have been quite easy. But for somebody like Dave, who's head of construction, I'm kind of pushing Dave to make sure the site teams are completing these forms on a regular basis. And that was a quick and easy check of exactly how many of every form had done.
Yeah, if it's all zeros, worries. If it's 5s and 7s, yeah, feels good. That type of sense check. Yeah, yeah, we can have a look at those. I'll have to ask the dev team. Obviously, this is pulling out form level or field level data, so it'll be quite a significant amount of data to come out. So we'll be pointing this dashboard at the site diary. These are then a higher level, so we need to be pulling out just the the form and the statuses. So it's just whether the dev team are happy that that's not too much data in one dashboard, but they can tease that out, and I can basically let you know whether it might need to be just another tab rather than all on the same screen or something like that.
In an ideal world, if I had an infinite shopping list, James, if I got, say, that site manager form, that's a site manager weekly inspection form. If there were 4 filled out for the period that we've selected, it would be great if we could click on the form and just fetch the 4 forms up. Drill down into that next level of detail, and same for any of the forms on there.
Yeah.
So if the site diary has been filled out 5 times, you could click on it, and the 5 forms would come up, and then you select the.
Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Whether this whole part needs to be separated from, because this is a different data set, I'll let the dev team decide. It's basically on, as long as it's not too much information that it's going to fall over. But yeah, they're the ones that work on the efficiency side of things and actually structuring the backbone of it. So yeah, I can understand that. When you say about sort of the periods, are you saying they've been raised in that time zone or that they've been closed?
James, why don't we look at the PMI dashboard?
I will when I come to this.
Okay.
This is safety at the moment, and that will be on this one.
I don't know the answer. I don't know. I did think of this at one point, and I thought if the number was red, they were open, and if they were green, they were closed. I did think about that for you. But then I thought it was getting a bit too busy, because if I had, I don't know, if I had 4 goods receipt sheets and 2 are live and 2 are open, you wouldn't know whether to do green or red. It would be perhaps a bit too confusing.
Yeah. So we need like the trigger of what pulls it in. So I'd probably say it's what's raised in that month. Hopefully most of these get raised and closed pretty quick, but otherwise you could have that as 2 scaffold inspections were closed this month, but they were raised 2.5 years ago, but somebody's just come and finally closed them off to tie off loose ends at the end of the project. But yeah, you could have what was raised in that time period, and it's difficult as well, the logic, because if I say what's closed in the time period, it could say that 2 have been raised, but 15 have been closed, and you'd be like, well, how have they raised? But those 15 rolled over from the month before. But you could have it, how many of those 2 are still open? So it could say, 2 are still here, 1 is still open, so this number can never be bigger than that number. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm open to some suggestions on that, James. If
I can do it. So that equals what's been raised in the month, and then this is still at an open status, so like not closed.
Yeah, I'm happy with that, especially if there was the ability to, where you've got 2 not closed there, if there was the ability to click on the 2 and it brings the 2 forms up, then that's quite intuitive then, isn't it? Because you can drill down and ask the question in a project meeting, why haven't they been closed down? Because the other thing I'm trying to push, and we've been trying to introduce Snagar right now for the last 12 months or so. Oh my God, and we had a similar problem in Castle Oak, to be honest. They ran Vistry Park, so I know you do Vistry as well. But it's getting people to understand and realise that we are looking at this stuff as well. Because if they think it's just another quirk going on in the background, or they've introduced this bit of software, nobody bloody looks at it, we won't bother, then that makes life harder, doesn't it? But I've got Dave at the moment, every time we have a project review, we go into Snag and say, right, what forms have been done? How are you getting on with this? What are the problems? And of course, it's hitting home. Oh shit, they're looking at this stuff. We better actually knuckle down and get it done. But to have something really kind of slick and intuitive, whether it's the like thing that Barry is talking about, or whether it's a bespoke one, it makes it a bit slicker for us then in the project review to drill down, see where the problems are, and and poke the right things, whether it's going back to Dave and updating or changing something, or us pushing stuff harder with the site teams.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, definitely. Show it back to them, and we do the same internally. Then people know they've got to be quicker at that or do more of this. So, yeah, just making a couple of extra notes on here so they don't forget. Raising time period. How many of those? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think that this one's quite self-explanatory. So I can translate that to the dev team and talk them through that. So this one's more on your quality forms. As Barry said, we have a concept called progress monitoring. Plus it's progress monitoring light, because progress monitoring pro is included in actually scheduling these in your Axis schedule or whatever. So normally that's a bit too far. But yeah, this progress monitoring light, which I'll show you in just a second, allows you to do effectively this: that say in every single one of your plots, you want to perform a QA check A, B, C, D, timber frame, electrical first fix, carpentry second fix, then we can monitor when you've done those against each of those locations. A little bit more advanced than this, though, is that not every plot, we class them as locations, but say these are your apartments, then yeah, most apartments might go through the same set of checklists. But then if I chuck on at the bottom, well, for you go across the page, we'll actually pivot that, because there'll be more locations than there will inspections. But if we say that this last one is actually a corridor, it would go through a different set of checks, I imagine. Doesn't have to, could still go through the same. But for example, a corridor's not going to have a kitchen checklist, but an apartment might have. So we allow you to basically set up the sequence of checks. We call them then location types. So you'd apply this set of checklists against all of these plots, but then a corridor might just have 3 checklists to do. Okay, and we will then monitor when they're done the electrical first fix, the carpentry first fix, and the builder's clean, if that's all you needed to do.
Well, if we've got I don't know, if we've got 100 checklists, because we've got checklists for kind of, as an example, trad construction, we've got checklists for timber frame construction. Would we have to go into each site then and pick the checklist that relate to that part of the dashboard? Because what I thought about doing was, if a checklist had been completed, then it would kind of show up on this this spreadsheet sort of thing. So if there's 100 checklists in there and only 30 are being used, only the 30 that are being used would show up on this form.
Yes, that's the case. So it'll be easier if I show you. To So basically, I mean, we're actually imminently sort of going to be releasing this as a built-in module within our drive. It's going to go through alpha testing, then actually go through beta testing, and then it'll be released. But currently we do this by using a Google sheet, where we'll give you a list of all of your locations. You would just list which, say, 5 forms, 10 forms you want to run through. And then the dashboard, as you sort of indicated then, would actually just show you what you're interested in. So every project, the dashboard would be dynamic to only show them the forms they're using and they've planned to use. So I'll show you this one. It's a very simple version of it. Could be a lot more complicated. Could be just as easy as this one. Okay, so it's a bit more of this. So our locations would go down the page. That might say plot 1, plot 2, plot 3 in your language. So if I just jump down a bit further. So for example, like they go floor 2, plot 1, plot 2, plot 3. And this project is planned out that they're going to do a lightweight steel frame inspection, they're going to do an RS helping hand, concrete slip, and then a concrete pour. So they would be your checklist that you've planned. And then as soon as you've done one against that location, it will update with the status of that form automatically for you. So if your workflow is open and then ready for green square sign off, then complete, you would probably just be seeing 3 different, almost a traffic light type of status colors, and they will automatically update on this tracker. You no longer would have to do an Excel tracker to figure out, like it sounded like you were with so David at the end of each week. What have we done? Where have we done it? This dashboard will be monitoring all that against your plan. But then in other areas, as I indicated, like corridors and things, you could have a completely different sequence. It could be more, it could be less, it could be completely different forms altogether. So it's not the case that you just have to say, these are the 10 forms, put them everywhere. You can have completely bespoke, we call them like inspection sets for each different type of location.
You click on the blue box, James, does that take you into the forms?
Yeah, so this will be like what I plan to do even on the safety form, that when you click a number, we would have like a table at the bottom that overviews the form, gives you a quick little overview. Normally it's the full width, but on this one, I've just made it half. And then, yeah, you've got a link directly into that form that you can then open it up and view it, close it off.